So I think it was likely that we were going to remember Michigan's 2023 season, no matter what happened in the postseason, whether they won the Big Ten championship game, won the Rose Bowl, won the national title. I think that this year in Michigan's football history was, for the most part, going to be widely remembered for several different obvious reasons, right? Jim Harbaugh suspended for half the regular season, first 3 games of the year for recruiting violations that they insist didn't happen and the NCAA insists absolutely happened and that Michigan is trying to misconstrue into something else. And then sign stealing allegations that exploded onto the scene and was the major story of the college football season. I think no matter what happened on the field, that this year was going to be one that Michigan was remembered for a very long time. And now that the Wolverines have polished off a national title win in a game that kind of went how I thought it would yesterday, that you can argue that it was getting close, that before the Mikey Sainristil interception that Washington was driving down the field to make it a 1-score game. I don't know that that's all that close. I don't know that there was ever in doubt that Michigan was going to win the game, right? Like, I don't know that I ever thought like, oh, here we go. Washington's going to take control here. It just never had that feeling to it that Michigan was the better team, and that's all there is to it. And I think, by the way, that they still tried to I had mentioned a couple of different times throughout Michigan's going to Michigan themselves one time where they get arrogant and beat themselves in a game that they shouldn't. And there were portions of that game yesterday was like, why the hell are you throwing a football ever? Why are you ever putting the ball in the air? It didn't make any sense. And if Washington would have been able to capitalize on that, it would have been one of the all-time blunders in the college football national title game. Like, you ran for 20 yards a carry in the first quarter and then started throwing the ball. What the hell are you doing? Anywho, Michigan's now in the national title. They won the national championship. So how do we remember the 2023 Michigan national championship season? Is there an asterisk next to that 15-0 title-winning team? Is there repercussions for Jim Harbaugh down the line? Is there NCAA sanctions to come? Is it a vacated national championship at some point? I think the answer to some of those are yes, and some of them are no. I think at some point, I wonder. I wonder what the NCAA does, because my feeling is that by this time, I don't know, next week, Jim Harbaugh is unlikely to be the head coach of the University of Michigan. That he's never really been shy about his flirtations with wanting to return back to the NFL, and the NFL is going to be interested in him at this moment. I think at some point a deal gets done and he's likely to leave. And that opens up a whole other can of worms of who becomes Michigan's head coach. Is it somebody already on staff, et cetera? And we'll talk about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I wonder if Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan basically ends any investigation from the NCAA of wrongdoing. Kind of a like, hey, if you're going to go, we're not going to waste our time anymore on trying to decipher whether you did anything wrong or not. It's kind of, it's not, never mind. I just wonder if that's the thought process, though, of Jim Harbaugh. He's got the NCAA breathing down his neck. He's always wanted to go back to the NFL. He hired an NFL-centric agent. There are several teams that are reportedly interested in him, hiring him to be their head coach. Maybe now is the time to go. I don't know. We'll see. But it sure would do a lot to get the NCAA off your back, right? Like, if you don't have to worry about the repercussions of whether you are guilty of recruiting violations, whether you are guilty of an elaborate sign stealing allegations, all of those things. Does the NCAA care about those things if you're not there anymore? I don't know. I do know that I guess I don't know. I have a very strong feeling that the NCAA Like the national championship won by Michigan last night is never going to be taken away. That banner's never coming down. Kansas got caught like on a federal wiretap discussing how they were paying players and how they were committing fraud. And Bill Self got a lifetime contract out of the deal and won a national title. Like the feds have audio of Kansas discussing how they are going to break NCAA rules to win a title. They then win a title, and that banner's still up. Now, I will tell you, I believe that Michigan created, implemented, and perfected an elaborate sign-stealing operation. I think it's undeniable that there is too much evidence out there, and it would be too much coincidence and ridiculous circumstantial evidence for all of those things to have been happening and none of them be combined, conjoined, in conjunction with one another. I think that is pretty crystal clear to the average fan that this is what happened, that Michigan put together an operation to have Connor Stallions steal the other team's signs so they knew what was coming and could adjust on the fly. I think that much is abundantly clear. And I don't think that's an outrageous assumption to make. I don't think that that is unreasonable to look at the evidence that is out there. I don't think there's a way Michigan explains that away. Like Jim Harbaugh yesterday said, essentially, we're innocent. We stood tall in our convictions because we knew we were innocent the whole time. Well, then why is your linebacker coach fired? Why is Connor Stallions no longer a member of your program? It can't be all of those things are circumstantial coincidence. And also we exclusively did the right thing and never did one thing wrong ever. It can't be both. So you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. So how do we remember this 2023 Michigan team? Is there an asterisk? I don't know. I think you have to ask that question, right? If you go 15-0 and a good chunk of those wins are after conceivably you stopped your sign stealing, that has to mean something, right? But at the same time, those first couple of wins, and some of those wins come without your head coach because it's pretty clear that you got caught illegally stealing signs. That has to matter too, right? Because I'm afraid we're getting to the point of like cheating doesn't matter. And I think we're almost in like a post-cheating or post-cheating college football. That what used to be the way to cheat was paying guys, slipping guys money under the table, giving their mom a sports car, getting a house or apartment or whatever. Well, all that stuff is now on the up and up. And there weren't really a whole bunch of ways to cheat between those two white lines, right? And now that you got caught doing it, and I saw a bunch of tweets yesterday, like, hey, this proves it. Cheating will prosper, blah, blah, blah. There was the Brett McMurphy quote that is just, it's rough. That says, Michigan's not the only team that's stealing signs. That the only pure school in college sports is Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt sucks. I think it was an Alabama official that told Brett McMurphy that was the only thing pure in college sports is Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt sucks. Oof, Vanderbilt's out here catching strays. But it's the truth. The idea, and the Michigan response is, well, Ohio State is stealing practice film from Catapult because some of the bigwigs at this video firm are friends with Ryan Day and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, your evidence is like batshit crazy aluminum tinfoil hat, where everybody else's evidence that like you were cheating is physical evidence that is verifiable proof and then there's like video of you cheating. So it's not apples to apples. And when your defense is like, well, the New England Patriots could cheat, why can't we cheat? What? Huh? If that's that's not the defense you think it is, first of all. Like, well, everybody else is doing it. Okay, well, turn everybody else in then. If you think everybody else is guilty of what you're being accused of, start showing me the evidence. If you don't have any, shut up. So I don't know in the annals of history what the 2023 season Michigan season has looked at. I think it becomes a footnote, and I don't like that. I don't like that you're accused of skirting the rules twice in a season, and in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever the case may be, that is not included in the legacy of your season, right? It'll just be Michigan won the 2023 national title, and then Jim Harbaugh went off to the NFL. I'm afraid that it's not going to be Michigan won the 2023 title. Their head coach was suspended for half the regular season for recruiting violations and then kind of cheating the integrity of the game. And I think that's important. It's an important distinction to include. I think. If you don't, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I think there's a difference between, like Clemson won a national title with a accused sexual predator at quarterback. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with what happened between the lines, right? Or Florida won a national title with a tight end who happened to be a murderer. Okay, I don't think that is necessarily part and parcel of the story of those seasons. When it comes to what happens between those white lines or how you get the guys on your team that play between those white lines, that's when I think it matters to say, okay. And I doubt that there's ever an asterisk. I doubt that there's ever this championship got pulled. Because like I said, the FBI has a wiretap of Bill Self being like, hey, we got to get these kids hundreds of thousands of dollars to win. And he's got a lifetime contract and a couple of titles under his belt. And you know what? Those titles ain't going away anytime soon. I know that the Power 5 schools are eventually going to split off from the NCAA. I know that. You know that. The presidents, athletic directors, head football coaches, whoever knows that. The NCAA knows that. Everybody knows that is coming down the line. My fear is that nobody's going to leave the NCAA to create a stricter governing body. That's not going to be one of their priorities in creating a new governance board. They're not going to be like, you know what? I wish we could really crack down on some of this stuff. It's just going to continue to be the wild, wild west. So for people who now are like, I don't like college sports anymore because there's NIL, these damn kids are making money while they're playing sports, and I don't like it. And the disparity is as bad as it's ever been. It's not fair that Alabama's on the same playing field as Mercer. I get it. I do. But I don't think any of that is going to change anytime soon. And I don't think that Michigan's going to agree, or Ohio State or Oklahoma or anybody, Vanderbilt or anybody else who is feeling like they have not done anything wrong. I don't think any of those people, those teams, those institutions, administrations are going to willingly sign up for something that is stricter rules-wise than the NCAA is. Whether it's the rules are stricter, but the enforcement is still lacking, or the enforcement is ramped up, and really cracking down and making sure that everybody's following the rules to a T. I don't think anybody really likes that. Nobody likes the cop that's going to pull you over for going 56 and a 55. It's not a way to really build goodwill in the community. Technically, is that breaking the law? Sure, absolutely, 100% it is. By God, I say this is the fastest you go over it. But nobody's going to sign up for that. Nobody wants that in their community. And I don't think Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma, USC, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Florida, whoever, are going to willingly sign up for that. So does cheating matter in college football anymore? I don't think so. I think that kind of sucks. Because for all of the bull crap that coaches spew about how they're shaping and building and molding young men, and this is a calling from God that they've got to. This was why they were put on earth, is to create better men and create men of character and integrity. And then, by the way, I'm going to do whatever the hell it takes to be successful. I think that sucks. I don't want a sport filled with hypocrites. I don't want a sport where everybody virtue signals all day, every day, and then the first opportunity they get to take a short to win a championship or take a shortcut to skirt around the rules because they don't like it, or it's going to give me an advantage, and you become a hypocrite because of it. I don't like that. So my fear isn't how is Michigan remembered in 2023. It's what are the repercussions going forward, because I don't know that there are any. My fear is Jim Harbaugh bolts for the NFL and the NCAA says, well, why do I care about this anymore? And you go on about your day, and it incentivizes a complete disregard for the set of rules that everybody has agreed to participate under. I don't like that idea. I don't like that you can get away with somewhat egregiously skirting the rules, still win a title, and the repercussions are, everybody's doing it. I don't like that. But I also don't know how you fix it either. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. Certainly do appreciate it. If you were watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out here on Saturday Glory. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a really long way in helping out the channel. We'll be back at it tomorrow. More college football talk. Just because the season is wrapped up doesn't mean we're going anywhere. We'll keep talking the greatest sport on the planet tomorrow here on the Daily Huddle with Saturday Glory.